Today we continue with our narration of What is Libertarianism, an introduction to the philosophy of liberty, as written by Pietro Angeli, Victorian Policy Director of the Libertarian Party of Victoria in Australia. Today we're up to Chapter 5. If you want to go back to Chapters 1, 2, 3 and 4, please click on the links below. Chapter 1 was What is Libertarianism? Chapter 2, What is the State? Chapter 3, What is the Free Market? Chapter 4, What are Rights? And today we are looking at What is Money? Chapter 5, What is Money? At the core of libertarianism's criticism of the state is the use of money. As mentioned earlier, libertarians oppose any infringement on an individual's life, liberty or property. Money is the utmost symbol of property as it represents purchasing power, or the ability to attain property. First, one needs to know, where does money come from? Trade has existed and benefited humans for as long as humans have walked the earth. If a man specializes in breeding and tending sheep, and another man specializes in farming wheat, neither man benefits by trying to both breed sheep and farm wheat. On the contrary, they both benefit by doing the thing they are best at, then trading some of their produce for some of that of the other man. Expanding this idea out to every product and every service that all men and women are capable of providing, and everyone benefits from everyone else's skill at producing various things if they all engage in voluntary trade with one another. This is a core idea behind the free market, which has been outlined in far greater depth in a previous section. If a man who breeds sheep, however, wants to purchase some fish, but the fishmonger is not interested in sheep, what can he do? Does he trade his sheep for some item which he then trades for another item again and again in the hope that eventually he owns something the fishmonger desires? This would be an incredibly arduous process and would stall the free market enormously. Instead, humans devised money almost as early as they devised trade. With the existence of currency, some substance that was of inherent value, durable, fungible, and easy to carry, the shepherd need not trade with 10 others in the hope of acquiring something of use to the fishmonger. The shepherd could exchange his sheep for currency and then give the currency to the fishmonger in exchange for fish. That way the fishmonger could exchange his newfound currency for whatever he wished. This enabled trade to expand enormously. The other important function money serves is as a store of value. As a medium of exchange, money makes value transportable through space. But as a store of value, money makes value transportable through time. With money, one can save the fruit of their labor for later consumption. This alone allows for the accumulation of capital. Because money therefore became incredibly important, the currency used needed to meet certain criteria. It needed to be finite or difficult to source. If currency were too easily found, such as pebbles, it would be of no value to people as they could just pick up pebbles instead of trading actual valuable goods. Currency needed to be portable and easily divisible. If currency were too difficult to carry or break down into chunks of specific value, it would not be much use for trade, its primary purpose. Currency needed to have inherent value. It needed to be desirable of its own right, either as a precious metal or stone, or for a specific use. For most of human history, gold and silver have been the primary forms of currency as they meet all the criteria required. Gold and silver coins have been used in countless countries, empires, and cultures over human history, many independently of one another. Paper money only replaced gold and silver with the advent of modern banks. Modern banks would offer to hold a person's gold or silver in exchange for a banknote, essentially an IOU, explaining that the note was tradable for the gold or silver held in storage. Due to the fact that banknotes proved to be more portable and easily tradable than physical gold or silver, banknotes replaced gold and silver coins as the currency used for easy trade in the modern world. For libertarians, the greatest crime the state has ever committed against money, and therefore against free trade and property, were the creation of central banks, such as the Reserve Bank of Australia and the Federal Reserve of the US, and the departure from the gold standard. The gold standard was an assurance by banks that all banknotes in circulation were exchangeable for gold at any time, meaning they were backed by gold. Australia left the gold standard in 1932. From this point on, the value of currency became dependent on how much money was in circulation, which is not a stable number, rather than on the fixed amount of gold which was in existence. Because the amount of money in circulation is a far less stable and consistent number, especially with the advent of the Reserve Bank, which could create new money at will, Today's monetary system is no longer based on the origins of money as described earlier, but rather on fiat money. Fiat is money not backed by a commodity like gold or silver and derives its value entirely from government's enforcement of legal tender laws and taxation being levied in that currency. This is all to say, with the creation of central banks which could will money into existence, and with the departure from the gold standard, for the first time in human history in the 20th century, money was no longer separate from the state, but rather an integral part of it. The state has, for all intents and purposes, taken complete control over the value of money, and the currency that is today most frequently used for all trades and purchases derives its value not independently, but entirely from the assurances and the coercion of the state.